Okay guys, in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can turn and brush up your turning technique so you can turn with more speed and gain that little edge on the pitch, which might help you become first to the ball in a 50-50 situation and to make a goal line clearance or to reach the ball and, you know, score the winning goal in a match. So it's a tiny little edge that I'm going to show you and a tiny change in technique, but this could make the difference to you on the pitch. And this will just help your level of athleticism as well, especially in your speed and your agility on the pitch. Okay, and just by being aware of this, then you can make a conscious effort to try and use the right technique in your training, and then eventually that will become more natural to you as you do things during a match on the pitch. Now, you wouldn't be aware of this unless a movement coach or a strength and conditioning coach would point this out to you. So you've already got an edge just by being aware of the changes that you can make in order to be faster when you're turning. Okay, so let's go back to the start, and I'm going to show you in slow motion, okay, the different types of turning technique. Well, let's start with this one. Now, this is the technique which most players will use, okay, and obviously it works because you get to turn, but it's not the most optimal technique you can use. And the analogy I always use is figure skating. I always compare it to figure skating. Now, if you imagine an ice skater who's dancing on the ice, and when they start spinning on the spot, what they do when they're spinning to change the speed at which they're rotating. Okay, now when they want to speed up, they tuck all of their limbs into their body, and that speeds them up. And then when they want to slow down, the limbs move to the outside of the body, and that slows down the rotation. And we can apply exactly the same to turning in football here. So this again is not the optimal technique that I'm going to show you, but this is the one which most players use. I'm going to show you why it's not optimal. So if we look here, the upper body starts to rotate and the arms are to the outside of the body. If we just go back a little for a second there. So as I'm turning, my upper body is making the turn and my arms are flailing to the outside of the body there as I turn. And it results in me not being able to turn with as much speed as I could, but also as I turn, I'm slightly off balance there, which means I'm not going in a straight line, I'm heading slightly to the right. So again, let's go back. Again, this is just a slight little edge that you're gonna gain here, and just by having knowledge of it, that's going to give you an upper hand over your opponents and your teammates as well. Okay, so let's look as I turn here. Arm moves to the outside of the body as I start to rotate. Now, let's compare that to the next one, where I'm going to take it a step further and show you how you can start to improve this. Now, the next technique you can use is this one here. Okay, so as I turn, I'm making a conscious effort to keep the elbows tucked in and my arms tucked into my body here. Okay, and you'll see I can rotate a lot quicker and I'm facing the way I want to go a lot sooner than if my arms are flailing out of the body, and I'm also turning with more speed as well and more control. I've got more balance there. As I've turned, I'm going straight in the direction where I need to go. Okay, you'll also notice that if we just go back to the clip again, here as I turn, I'm keeping the elbows in and arms in, but also I'm dropping this shoulder as well, so that I can quickly face the way that I want to be going. So I'm dropping the shoulder, keeping the elbows tucked in, and then I'm off in the direction where I need to go. Okay, so let's again compare that to the first one. If we just go back here, arms tucked in, rotate, shoulder drops. If we go back to the first example, as I turn, arms are all over the place, and that's negatively affecting my speed when I'm turning. I'm also losing balance there as I turn. Now I'm going to show the optimal technique that you want to use, and it involves the feet as well. Okay, so let's just skip to the last one here. This is the best example. So this is the best technique that you want to use, and if you can practice this in training, it will become more natural to you when you start to turn during a match, and it'll help with your agility and your speed and level of athleticism on the pitch. Okay, so as I turn, again, elbows tucked in, shoulder drops, but you'll notice that with this leg here, I'm really forcing my foot into the floor to propel myself forward. So this is what helps me propel myself forwards in the direction that I want to go in. So upper body, again, elbows tucked in, shoulder drops, but look, I'm stomping that foot into the floor to then push myself off as I drop my shoulder. So it's stomp, drop the shoulder, keep the arms tucked in, and then I'm off in the direction I need to go. Again, you're only going to gain a split second here, but it can be that advantage which will get you to the ball sooner, to make a goal line clearance, or a goal, or just, it might not be as game changing situation as that, but it will help you perform and have more impact on the pitch if you're faster when you're turning. So again, let's look at that. Elbows tucked in, shoulder drops, and I stomp that foot into the ground to then propel myself forwards in the direction I want to go. Okay, now let's compare that again to the first one. If we go back here, compare that to the first one where my upper body starts the whole rotation. I still move that foot out, but it's not as much of a stomp, more of like a foot placement. I'm not actively pushing that foot into the ground to propel myself in the direction I want to go. My upper body is twisting, I'm rotating slower, and I'm off balance as I turn slightly. Look, I'm going in the wrong direction there for a split second. And then that's compare that to the optimal technique. This one here. Okay, elbows tucked in, drop the shoulder, and I'm stomping that foot into the ground to then push myself off and propel myself in the direction I want to go. Okay, I hope that's really clear for you. It's a really valuable little lesson you can take on board, that one, because if you can gain a little edge, especially in your turning, and especially if you're a defender, then that's really going to help your level of performance. If you're quicker in your turning, then you can accelerate in the direction you want to go in a lot sooner. So let's just watch these through in real time. So you see the difference. Again, minute little differences, but if you're aware of these, then you're going to have the upper hand over your opponent. So that's the first one, with the arms flailing outwards and not stomping the foot into the ground. And then we should be moving on to the second one where the arms are tucked in, but again, just placing that foot into the floor, not really actively stomping it into the floor. And then let's skip to the last one because it's a better example of what we're looking for. Okay, the last one should be coming up now. There, a lot quicker, stomping that foot into the floor, elbows tucked in, shoulder drops, boom, and you're off. Okay, now I should also mention that there is going to be a difference in your turning speed depending on which way you're turning, left or right. So you want to practice both. You'll notice that you're more comfortable turning one way than the other. So definitely practice both, and that's going to give you an even further boost in your level of performance and speed and athleticism on the pitch. Okay, hope this one helps. Any questions, let me know, and I'll speak to you soon.